Enter the realm of Hollywood, where aspirations are both brought to life and tragically let to die. An amazing and sad life story, that of Hollywood legend Val Kilmer, stands out in this lively metropolis, an enthralling story that shows how resilient people can be. In this exceptional man's narrative, we will delve into his refusal to lose his enthusiasm for his trade while fighting the fiercest of fights. Many people equate Val Kilmer with brilliance, charm, and doggedness because of his outstanding acting career, which has enthralled audiences for many years. However, there is a tragic tale of loss and heartache beneath his charismatic grin and compelling demeanor. Okay, so before we get into the specifics of these, let's start at the beginning. We'll learn about his struggles and where his abilities originated from, so we can understand how he became the famous actor we all know and love. As a newborn boy born on New Year's Eve in 1959, Val Edward Kilmer was destined to leave an indelible impression on the world. Val was born to real estate salespeople, Eugene Kilmer and Gladys Eckstadt, who were resolute in their mission to provide a secure upbringing for their three sons, Mark, Wesley, and Val. As a child growing up in Los Angeles, Val experienced both the laid-back California lifestyle and the fast-paced urban environment. He had a regular suburban upbringing in the quiet Chatsworth neighborhood. However, everything wasn't always as peaceful as it appeared. Despite their outward appearance of suburban serenity, Val's family struggled with their own problems, which profoundly affected Val as a youngster and determined his future. While the metropolis of Los Angeles is famously bustling with activity, Val preferred a more sedate pace. He frequently felt eclipsed by the boisterous and extroverted individuals in his vicinity due to his shy and contemplative personality. He wasn't the class clown or the party animal. He preferred to be alone with his thoughts, taking pleasure in periods of quiet reflection and taking in his surroundings in a world where everything was always happening. The unfortunate divorce of Val's parents had a profound effect on him when he was 8 years old. Because of a change in circumstances, Val, his father, and his brothers had to relocate to a new home in Chatsworth, California. Kevin Spacey and Val both started at Chatsworth High School. Here, a life-altering event occurred that set him on a path he would never again take. Just like a lot of performers, Val can pinpoint the precise second he knew acting was his occupation. It occurred during a stage production of S.E. Hinton's well-known novel, The Outsiders, in a high school. Hello, Hinton. Something extraordinary happened to Val the moment he took the stage, transformed into a character, and held the attention of the audience. It wasn't about pursuing fame and fortune. Rather, it was about the profound impact that stories can have on people's lives. Val had a firm grasp on his identity and a dedication to authenticity from an early age. It's said, and this might be real or false, that a 12-year-old named Val once walked off the set of a burger ad because he refused to compromise his ideals. If Val didn't really like the burger, he couldn't bring himself to act like he loved it. His acting career would be defined by his unflinching honesty and his determination to be authentic. But it's worth noting that there were instances when this dedication to honesty caused problems with other people. Nevertheless, Val's path was shaped by more than just his budding skill and adolescent defiance. Tragically, he suffered a devastating loss when he was 16 years old, just as his love for acting was beginning to blossom. Wesley, his younger brother, sadly drowned in a jacuzzi after an epileptic episode and died at the early age of 15. This tragic death profoundly affected Val, leaving him with a deep depth of pain that he would always feel. No amount of time or space can do justice to the indescribable anguish of a loved one's untimely death. This tragedy certainly colored Val's outlook on life and strengthened his resolve to savor each passing second. Acting provided Val with consolation and solace after the death of his brother. For him, it evolved into something much more than a pastime. It became a safe haven from the chaos and suffering in his life. Val found solace in acting, which allowed him to channel his innermost feelings and make sense of a world that appeared so cruel and arbitrary. He had no idea that his unwavering commitment to his art would propel him to fame, where his extraordinary skill would be on full display. Nevertheless, despite his achievements, the memories of his past hung heavy, bringing back the anguish he had felt and the wounds he had sustained. Following his brother's death, Val embarked on the thrilling adventure that would become his acting career. Seeking solace after a tragic loss and fueled by an immense enthusiasm he had when performing on the high school stage, Val Kilmer was hell-bent on forging his own distinctive career path. He felt an irresistible pull toward the City of Angels, Los Angeles, and all the opportunities it held. As he embraced each new chance, he brought both the wisdom gained from his history and an unwavering will to make an indelible mark on the acting industry. His remarkable journey to prominence would be built upon the very basis of the struggles he had endured and the fortitude he had earned. Little did he know. Val set his sights on the glittering lights of Broadway after securing a spot at the renowned Juilliard School. But fate seems to have different plans for him. What role did the intriguing tale of Val's early career, a time when his enthusiasm, tenacity, and the specters of his past played in shaping his life's trajectory? While attending the esteemed Juilliard School, Val Kilmer immersed himself in acting and worked to improve his profession under the tutelage of famous teachers. He was ready to leave an impression on the world when he graduated from Juilliard. But unlike other performers, Val was prepared to put in the time and effort necessary to get to Hollywood. New York City theater performances gave him invaluable experience, and he honed his acting chops among actors like Sean Penn and Kevin Bacon. His early promise and natural aptitude were on display in the stage performance of The Slab Boys, which he was a part of. Val was also enticed by television, which offered him an opportunity to learn a new style of acting. His television acting debut was in 1983's One Too Many, an ABC after-school special that addressed the pressing issue of drunk driving. Val got a taste of the brilliant individuals he would soon be collaborating with as he ascended the ladder of fame by acting with a young Michelle Pfeiffer in this production, which is intriguing in and of itself. Showcasing his skill and providing him with invaluable experience in front of the camera, it was a significant milestone in Val's acting career. However, Val possessed a poetic spirit in addition to his acting chops. He wrote poetry as an outlet for his emotions and life experiences. Then, in 1983, he did something really bold. He released his own poetry collection, My Edens After Burns. His relationship with Michelle Pfeiffer was an inspiration, and the book offers readers a glimpse into Val's mind and feelings. He opens up about his hobbies and his insecurities in this insight into his life. The success that Val was experiencing in his acting jobs on stage and television didn't satisfy him. His aspirations were loftier, and he yearned for more professional success. He had no idea that this hunger for more would propel him into an entirely new chapter of his life. But what impact did this transition have on his career, and how did it pave the way for his eventual success? It wasn't until 1984's bizarre comedy Top Secret that Val finally broke through. Val portrayed the role of Nick Rivers, a rock musician influenced by Elvis Presley, who became embroiled in a harrowing Cold War adventure. Val wowed the audience with his remarkable singing abilities in addition to his impeccable comic timing. His use of the character's moniker extended to an album release. Despite the film's lackluster critical reception, it accomplished a crucial goal for Val. It elevated his profile, drawing greater attention to him and highlighting his skill. It was a watershed moment in his career that catapulted him to stardom in Hollywood. The 1985 comedy Real Genius had Val in the lead role, capitalizing on his newfound fame. He portrayed an unconventional yet talented engineering student in the film. Val's acting chops and charisma shone through in his role, which allowed him to connect with a younger demographic. It was a watershed moment that established Val as a rising star, but he wasn't content to limit himself to comedies. He was always on the lookout for new challenges, eager to test his mettle in other genres, and chances to demonstrate his dramatic range. Even David Lynch's strange and highly regarded film Blue Velvet, in which he was offered a role, rejected. This choice sent him in a totally new direction, which altered the course of his career. Val landed a part in 1986 that catapulted him to A-list stardom and launched his career to new heights. Val stood out in Tony Scott's high-octane action flick Top Gun as Tom Cruise's adversary pilot Iceman. He nailed the role's icy fury and competitive edge. The film itself became an international phenomenon, bringing in more than $344 million throughout the world and catapulting Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer to stardom. However, difficulties also come with celebrity. Although some individuals thrive in the limelight, Val's fiery personality allegedly caused him friction with the film's producers and directors. The unfortunate consequence of this was that he became known for being tough, which began to eclipse his remarkable abilities. Val didn't allow the rumors of their fights stop him from making risky artistic decisions. He chose to attempt something new in 1988 with Ron Howard's Willow, a dramatic foray into fantasy. In the film, Val portrayed the role of Mad Mardigan, a courageous swordsman who had the responsibility of safeguarding a unique infant. Val was able to demonstrate his versatility as an actor by taking on a role in a fantasy film, which allowed him to immerse himself in the fantastical realm of fantasy. Val met his future wife, actress Joanne Whalley, on set of Willow. Their friendship blossomed as Val's career took off, and they eventually tied the knot. Val Kilmer dabbled in a variety of enterprises in addition to his hugely successful film roles. His classical theatrical skills were on display at the Colorado Shakespeare Festival, where he was fortunate enough to perform. Furthermore, in the 1991 movie The Doors, directed by Oliver Stone, Val had a mesmerizing performance as Jim Morrison. With a thrilling and overwhelming intensity, Val brought out Jim Morrison's soul as he totally submerged himself in the role. Both the critics and the fans were blown away by his performance. This part was Val's chance to show off his skills and put his doubters to rest, if only temporarily. Val Kilmer was already a major player in Hollywood by the early 90s. Aside from his natural talent, he also possessed the physical attractiveness and charisma that made him a movie star. But things from his past continued to impact Val, even as his profession was achieving new heights. How did these events shape his trajectory? Also, how did they influence the way he continued working? It seemed as if Val Kilmer transformed into Jim Morrison in The Doors as he portrayed the iconic musician. He proved his skill to those who questioned him and established himself as a formidable force in the world of theater by capturing the spirit of the rock legend's alluring charisma and deep lyrical character. Val Kilmer prepared for his audition by learning every word of Morrison's songs by heart, and even videotaped himself playing a few Doors songs to impress director Oliver Stone. Stone wasn't very thrilled with the video, but Kilmer's performance affected Paul A. Rothchild, the Doors' original producer, who suggested they record him in a studio. Following his casting as Morrison, Kilmer dove headfirst into researching the Doors and reading Morrison's poetry in order to bring the character to life. But being restricted to only one kind of duty was not something Val was happy about. He got to show off his acting chops while also satisfying his intense quest for variety. Actor Val Kilmer played the iconic character of Doc Holliday in the 1993 epic Western film Tombstone. On screen, his chemistry with Kurt Russell was electric. Not content to merely play the role of gunslinger, Val breathed life into Doc Holliday with his biting wit, cynicism, and in the end, the tragic side of the character. He was the center of attention, and both critics and audiences loved it. With this, Val cemented his status as a top performer capable of stealing the show in any film. Still, Val wasn't done yet. He transitioned from portraying a famous rock artist to playing the somber knight in Batman Forever. Some critics felt he failed to channel Michael Keaton's somber performance, while others lauded Val's fresh interpretation of the role. His portrayal of the caped crusader as a more sympathetic and heroic figure was something they much appreciated. During this time in his career, Val refused to be molded into a single sort of character and instead demonstrated his adaptability by taking on roles that were both challenging and different. Val Kilmer had reached the pinnacle of his profession by the mid-1990s. He was collaborating with renowned filmmakers like Tony Scott and Oliver Stone, and starring alongside A-listers like Robert De Niro, Tom Cruise, and Al Pacino. Val was charismatic, talented, and could make a killing at the movies. However, there were also difficulties associated with being a Hollywood star. Amid all the glitter and success in Hollywood, stories of falling out with directors and producers were circulating at a rapid pace, suggesting that problems were simmering under the surface. However, Val was more than simply a famous actor. He encouraged his artistic side as well. In the highly acclaimed 1998 animated feature The Prince of Egypt, he provided the voice for the character Moses. This demonstrated Val's skill in acting as well as his ability to use his voice in a unique manner. While in Los Angeles, he tried his hand at acting in a musical called The Ten Commandments as the renowned figure himself. It was clear that Val was not scared to try new things and was open to experimenting with various forms of expression. It suggested that the well-known actor was more than meets the eye. Val was an experimental artist who loved to play around with new mediums. A little shift occurred in Val's professional trajectory as the new century began. He kept working consistently, although not all of the films he picked were hits. With addition to tackling big-budget features like Alexander, Val dabbled with indie features like The Salton Sea. He even reconnected with his Top Gun co-star Anthony Edwards in the Disney animated feature Planes. Despite all of this, Val never wavered from his commitment to acting. He was always trying new things and finding artistic outlets. A tornado of a career unfolded for Val Kilmer in his early years, defined by an indisputable skill and an increasing reputation for complexity. He became famous for his extraordinary talent and accomplished a lot. While the early 2000s were a time of great success for him, it was also a time of great difficulty. Val had to walk a fine line between submitting to commercial pressures and remaining faithful to his creative vision. His reputation became entangled as a result of this. His brilliance and ability were obvious, but he was also hiding some deep-seated problems. In the end, these challenges would play a starring role in his extraordinary career. Keep watching as we delve more into Val Kilmer's life and career, revealing the triumphs and tribulations that molded him. We'll go into his life struggles, the ones that forced him to confront his own death and alter his perspective on Hollywood. We'll learn about his courageous and graceful approach to overcoming these obstacles, which has served as an inspiration to many. Tabloids and gossip publications used Val's private life as a source of storyline as he rose to fame in the 90s. His happiness was impacted by the public attention surrounding his 1996 divorce from actress Joanne Whalley, even though he was successful. His private life came under even closer scrutiny as whispers of infidelity spread. Val, who had always been protective of his personal space, chose to withdraw even more from the spotlight. He wished to keep his private life private and concentrate on himself. Both the emotional toll of the divorce and the scrutiny she endured from the media had an impact on Val. Despite rumors tying him to many models and actresses, it was clear that the public's view of him did not reflect his true character. His weight increase in the middle of the 2000s did further to feed the tabloid frenzy, and he endured a type of body shaming that would undoubtedly damage anyone's self-esteem. However, Val still had other obstacles to overcome, and they weren't superficial. He was forced to part with a portion of his beloved New Mexico property due to financial difficulties. The fact that he battled depression, as many renowned people do in silence, made things considerably worse for him. The audience watched a self-assured actor playing Val on film, oblivious to the inner turmoil he was experiencing. One of Val's reputations was that he was difficult to collaborate with. The rumor mill had it that he was an egotistical actor who had conflicts with producers and fellow actors like Tom Sizemore and Marlon Brando. On closer inspection, though, we can find that the truth is more nuanced. In his roles, Val would completely lose himself, a technique he was famous for. On occasion, the set would become tense due to his intense focus on his art. While some performers had negative encounters with Val, others had good ones, such as Mira Sorvino and Jeffrey Katzenberg. His expertise and generosity were praised by everyone around him. Therefore, it's not enough to merely state that Val was a pain to collaborate with. A more complex view of him emerges from many viewpoints and life experiences. The reality is probably more complex than it appears, and it lies somewhere in the middle. The multifaceted character known as Val Kilmer is a master of his craft. He cares profoundly about his work and works very hard to be the best at it. It would have been an enormous feat for anyone to overcome the many obstacles he has encountered in his professional and personal life. Nevertheless, Val has demonstrated remarkable resilience by being unfazed by these obstacles. Both professionally and personally, Val Kilmer has had to overcome a lot of obstacles. We have witnessed him grapple with the demands of stardom while playing iconic parts. Nevertheless, he was met with even more unforeseen obstacles that tested his mettle in ways he could never have imagined. Val quietly battled a health issue as he entered a new era of his life, forcing him to confront his own death. Because of this, he had to reconsider his whole worldview and his role in it. Life, resilience, and the efficacy of introspection were all themes that emerged during the voyage. How on earth could someone with Val's resilience overcome such insurmountable odds? And what does his story teach us about the value of facing our own weaknesses? Upon entering his 50s, Val encountered a difficult and demanding event in his life. In 2014, while touring with his one-man show Citizen Twain, Val began to exhibit indications of an underlying health problem. He typically gives his performances his all, but he was finding it more difficult to do so. His speech took on a scratchy, gruff quality, as if he was trying to hide a deeper, more severe issue. Naturally, Val was reluctant to see a doctor at first. He attempted to evade dealing with the matter because he was afraid of facing it. Then, in January 2015, Val was hospitalized for testing, which made many worry about his well-being. Val admitted to experiencing problems that necessitated his hospitalization in the critical care unit. However, he rejected allegations of having a tumor. Nevertheless, Val did not formally acknowledge his battle with cancer until April 2017. He finally admitted that he had been experiencing a healing of cancer after long denying the diagnosis. This new information illuminated the difficulties Val had been experiencing and the resilience he shown on his road to recovery. After that, Val had a very difficult several years. He had to fight hard to stay alive. Treatments such as radiation, chemotherapy, and surgery were quite taxing on him. Although these therapies were vital in the fight against cancer, they were extremely taxing on his health. Due to the long-term effects of the malignancy, Val's voice is now permanently impaired and scarcely audible. He required a feeding tube to ensure he received the nourishment he needed once eating became challenging. A tracheostomy, which he had to undergo, was another continual reminder of the hard fight he had waged. For Val, the effects of cancer extended well beyond the body. It had an effect on his mental and emotional well-being as well. A cancer diagnosis can have a devastating effect on a person's mental and spiritual well-being. It was terrifying for Val, who had a reputation for a commanding presence and forceful voice, to face his own mortality in silence. His inspiring path was chronicled in the documentary Val, which focused on his personal battle. His son Jack provided narration for several scenes in the film, which was an emotionally raw and truthful account of his life. The moving tribute highlighted the special relationship between a father and son. An integral part of the documentary was Mercedes, Val's daughter, who painstakingly combed through hours upon hours of archive film to weave together a portrait of her father's life. No matter how bad things got, Val always kept in mind how much his followers loved and supported him. During this challenging time, he was profoundly grateful for the prayers and good vibes that were directed his way. After 4 years of being cancer-free, Val made a joyous announcement in 2020. Val is eager to include state-of-the-art technology into his continuing road to rehabilitation. Kilmer joined forces with the London-based tech firm Sonantic in 2021. Digital recreations of Kilmer's voice were created using state-of-the-art AI technology and vintage audio recordings of his speech. They ran over 40 distinct vocal models until they found one that was almost an exact replica of his natural voice. So that his voice may be utilized in future endeavors, this was done. In his 2022 film Top Gun: Maverick, director Joseph Kosinski made it clear that they did not utilize Sonantic's artificial intelligence technology. Rather, they utilized Kilmer's real voice and enhanced it digitally to make it more expressive for the movie. An absolutely remarkable tale is that of Val Kilmer. He has demonstrated remarkable fortitude and perseverance in the face of several obstacles. He is now clear of cancer despite all the obstacles he had to endure. Because of this, his outlook on life has changed, and he is prepared to start over. From a youthful, passionate actor, Val Kilmer has matured into a wise, multifaceted artist. His story is motivational. I'm curious as to how he returned to the profession after such a long absence. In what groundbreaking ways did he use art to express himself, and how did his influence endure? Despite the constraints caused by his cancer treatment, Val defied all odds and triumphantly returned to the big screen in 2022, playing Iceman once again in Top Gun: Maverick. Just being in the film served as a potent reminder of his influence in the business. This happened more than once. Because his love for performing has never waned, Val is still aggressively seeking acting roles. But movies aren't the only medium through which Val expresses himself. He also finds solace in painting, which allows him to express himself and forge connections with people. People who view his paintings are moved to tears because they are filled with profound emotions. For Val, painting is now more than simply a hobby. It's a means of self-expression, insight, and healing. Having a loving family brings Val the greatest joy. The time he spends with Jack and Mercedes, his children, are precious to him. They are closer now than they were before the challenges they overcame together. The addition of grandkids has brought even more joy and happiness into Val's life. From a self-assured young actor, he has become a rock for his loved ones. Their affection motivates him to be his best self all the time. The influence of Val Kilmer goes much beyond his time in Hollywood. His life exemplifies the power of perseverance in the face of adversity. The story teaches us that being authentic is key, especially in the face of adversity. Life and the love of those around us are precious, and Val's tale serves as a reminder of that. His unfaltering conviction in a hereafter might offer solace to those going through tough times. A tale of tragedy, perseverance, and, in the end, optimism, that is Val Kilmer's narrative. He is an inspiration to others who are going through tough times since he overcame adversity and emerged stronger. He exemplifies the remarkable resiliency of the human spirit with the passion and resolve that persist inside him. It is our pleasure to have you along for the ride. We pray that Val Kilmer's story has served as an example of the power inside each of us and an inspiration to others. Recall his narrative and the everlasting strength of hope when you or someone you care about is dealing with difficulties. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and comment box. Farewell for the time being.